Hello, Naveen.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes. Yeah,
Someone removed everyone from the meeting.
yes, yes.
Let me present my screen again.
Yeah.
Screen visible now? Should be.
Yeah, it's not for us. Yeah.
Okay. For example, I need to get the full name of an employee. Then I can create an instance method for that. I'll name it as full name, and that doesn't take any argument. I'm going to use the instance variable that are already available. So I'm going to return that. So I will execute that class so that it will have the full name now. Okay, so let
Naveen,
me
are you
create.
sharing the screen? We are not able
Yeah,
to see.
yeah, I'm
Oh,
sharing.
yeah. No, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, let me create these two instances again, employee 1 and employee 2. If I check now, along with attributes first, last, and pay, I can see the full name also there. So that's the method. So to execute the method, you need to pass in parentheses. So this will return you the full name. And if I execute for employee 2, that's returning me employee 2's name. Okay, so this is instance method. Let's see what is class attributes, how we can use them. To make that clear, I'm creating some new function called apply rise. For example, there is a company that increments salaries of employees once in a year, some constant percentage for all the employees. Then they can use this method and can create it. I'm just saying an example. So that also doesn't take any argument because the pay is there. I'm going to store this pay incremented by some percentage, and let me cast it to end. Then for example, I'm increasing the salary for all the employees by 4%. Okay, so let me re-execute this. Someone go on mute, please. Yuvaraj Magendraj, could you please go on mute? Whenever you have doubt, that time alone unmute. Otherwise, you don't unmute. It will disturb others as well. Someone removed presentation. See, when you are doing a presentation, if some disturbance happens, that time you will feel what I feel.
He's not able to mute is what he's telling. Let me try to mute him. 1 minute.
Yeah,
He's
he's on mute now.
Yeah, he's on mute. Someone has muted him. So yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. Let's proceed. So I am increasing the salary of all the employees by 4%. So I give some constants here, and I'm redefining that employee class and creating two instances. If I check the pay of employee 1, that is initially created with 50,000. Okay, let me print that. If I call the instance method apply rise, then it will increase the salary by 4%. Then after increasing, I'm printing it. So Before printing it was 50,000. Then I applied that rise function. Then it increased by 4%. That is 2,000. That is 52,000. After that it changed to 52,000. You can also call the same function on employee2 instance as well. So that will increment whatever it is. So instead, for example, I have this increment value in multiple places on my code. So if I need to modify the code, I need to check for all the instance and should change it, right? So in place of that, I'm going to create some global or class attribute. For example, I'm giving same 4% here, and I'm copying here and executing. If I create instance again, and if I apply the rise, it's going to fail, because whenever you need to use the class attributes, you need to give the class name and the variable. If you give simply %, it won't execute, it's not defined. So otherwise you can use the instant variables if that were available in the instance. So let me execute this. I'm getting an error that name percentage is not defined, because when I use the class attribute which is defined outside all the methods, that is called class attributes, I need to pass in a class name. So if I execute now, this will work the same way when we gave the constant. Okay, you can also give the self here, that will work. How? Even though that percent is not there in the instance, right? How it's accessing that percent? Because the scope we have seen in enclosing scope, right? So when it sees the self.percent, it will check any instance variable defined here. If it's not there, then it will check for the class attributes. If it's present, then it's going to use that percent. So let me redefine that and create an instance, and again executing it. So it's giving me the same value. It's better to use self, because you can how to say, you can understand better. Or if you want employee, whichever way you like, you can give employee as well to represent, that is class attribute. Either self, that's going to check an instant variable. If it's not there, then it's going for class attribute. Let's understand this more by printing each pay. Okay, so I'm checking the percent. See, that percent is class attribute, but that is available for the methods, instant methods. Employee 2, that also have percent, and employee, the class itself. This is actually a owner, but since these are childs, can access those class attributes. So let me print it separately so that you will understand better. I defined any self.person, but it took 4. How? Because it knows if it's not there in instant variable, then it will go for class attribute and it will check. Let me execute this as well, and class attribute itself. So what I'm saying, you may think that in namespace version that will be created. So let me check that namespace of employee by dict special method is there. If you give this, the whatever the names or variables that is stored for employee instance will be in a dictionary. See, that percent is not there in employee 1 namespace. Employee 2 also doesn't have, but employee should have that. variable percent. So from here only these two instances are accessing. Okay. Let's move on to a class method. So far we have seen instant variables and instance methods. Let's see the class method now. Whenever you see that symbol, that is decorator, I have told you, right? So whatever the function I'm going to define here, that's going to take in this decorator, then it will add some functionality and it will save in the same function name. Okay, then even for assigning the value here itself, if I need to assign that value through the method, then this is the solution. So I'm creating the class method to manipulate class attribute. So set percent, I will name it. This time, since it's class method, it's not going to take self because it's not an instance method. I'm going to take the class. This is the name. You can give any name. For naming convention, I'm giving here. For self also, it's just a naming convention. You can use any name. So, but if you are in a community and you are contributing to GitHub or some Python, then whoever sees your code, they should not look differently, right? So you can follow with the same naming convention with self. And I'm not giving class here because that is the keyword that we are using built-in keyword. So we should not use that. Let's use CLS. So I'm going to take in a class and the amount I need to modify. Then I'm setting this percent because when I'm passing this employee itself, consider this CLS has employee now and dot percent, and I'm changing that percent from here. Let me name it percent. Define it. So employee, if you see the method set percent is available now. If you need to change to 10 percentage, for example, and create instance, then if you check pay, sorry, let me check in namespace what it has. Here it changed Pakka, but why it's not reflecting in this? Okay, let me change it some name. Okay, after setting only I need to create, right? So I need to apply that rise, right? That way it didn't no, they didn't defaultly executed this method. So let me execute that. Let me apply my changes. Sorry. Now the 10% increment is applied. So what happened? This person 4 here is changed to 10 and it applied. Are you clear? I can manipulate this class attribute with this method. So what it's taking an employee class and some argument, in this case 10%. I'm assigning that employee.percent equal to 10. So this statement is equal to employee dot percent equal to 10. Both are same. I am just manipulating through some class method to do that.
Is it necessary to define the class attribute there for as percent is equal to 4?
Here,
Yeah, because
yeah, I need to use that involves in calculation, right? So
okay,
I need that variable. This is same for all the instance you create for all the
okay,
employees. Okay, if I give constants 4 here, if I have that 4 or percentage in multiple places, then when I change that percentage, I need to come in to change all the places, right? Instead of keeping it a constant here, I can assign it to a class attribute so that all the instance of the class can access the same value.
okay, okay. Thanks.
Okay. So let's see, sometimes this class method can be used as alternate constructor. So for example, uh, you are receiving from your interface, like 50,000. So I have a string like this. From interface itself, I'm receiving this kind of string, but I need to create the employee instance with this string. In the sense, what you can do, you can just use the split method to split all the value if by that hyphen, and if I print first, then it will have the name here, and if I pass all these attributes to the instance, and if I'm assigning it some employee X, let's say, I'm creating, see, after splitting this string, and I'm assigning to 3 variables, and I'm passing to the class, and I'm creating an instance. So directly you don't get this format. Instead of this format, you are getting in a string, single string, so that you are splitting that based on hyphen, and you are passing to, and you are creating an instance. So if you call any attributes of this instance, it's going to give you the same value. So how can you construct this in your class. I'm going to use the class method. This is just a decorator. So all the alternate constructors you are creating, right, from some format you are creating. So let's name it from string and taking in a class, and that string, whatever we have done outside, we are going to do inside the class itself. I'm splitting here itself. And I'm returning a class with these arguments. Let me define it. Okay. Let me take this string and come in front. Now I can able to create an instance for this string. So I can call the employee method from string. I'm passing the string. Since I'm returning the class or instance, I can name it, for example, emp alone. So the instance is created. So automatically I'm constructing all the instance variables, right, from the string. So this is called alternate, using the class method for alternate construction. If I get employee attributes, it will give me the same thing. So whatever I have done outside splitting and passing to the employee and creating an instance, I am creating inside the class itself. I am taking employee class here and string, I am splitting that and storing in these variables, and I am passing these arguments, these values splitted to the class, so that employee of first resolved as Naveen Kumar and last name Murugan and pay. So it's giving me it's simply returning like this. It will resolve runtime like employee and the pay. So I am saving into other variable called emp, and the instance is automatically created. So these are the class methods. To manipulate, if any constants or class attributes there, to manipulate you can use those methods, or to do these kind of alternate constructor you can use those class methods. Do you have any questions so far?
No, Naveen.
Okay. There is also a static method. If you understand the decorator, then you will understand this. If you don't understand that, then this is going to be very difficult. See, this is the same as the decorator is what? It's taking in a function, adding functionality to that function, and returning the function that is modified. So this statement represents this taking in this function and adding some functionality and storing it in the same name. So when I execute this function with at symbol at class method, so this is equivalent to this. So it will add some functionality on top of this function. Okay. Let's move on to static method. To create a static method, you need a decorator static method. Okay. So for example, static methods are used when I'm checking whether the day is weekday or some weekend, some housekeeping you are doing, right? This function, this static method cannot access any class attributes, any uh, instance methods attributes. So it can't access this pay that is defined here, and that can't access the class attribute that is person here. It's a standalone method to do some housekeeping. See, the method I'm going to create is also irrelevant, but you will find some cases that you will do some manipulation on your data before you bring into method. That time you can use this static method. Okay. So for this example, I'm checking whether the day is a weekday or not. Okay. Or work day. I'm taking in a day. See, I didn't pass any self parameter here. This is just a standalone method. Okay. Don't worry about these lines. I will explain you in a second. 5 represents Saturday and 6 represents Sunday. So Monday have value 1, 1, 2, 6 like that. 0 to 6. Okay. I'm having some static method that will check whether the day I'm passing is weekday or not. If it's 5 or 6, that means Saturday or Sunday, that's going to return me false. Then if it's a weekday, then it's going to return me a day. So how I can pass that date object to this function? Okay, let me define it first. To create datetime object, I'm going to import datetime package. Okay, let me create some date from numbers. Sorry. This date function takes in a number. See, for example, a year you need to give, and let me take 2018 today's date, and month and a date. I'm executing this. From this number, it's created date object here. Let me check. Let me print it. How it look like. So whatever the operations I'm doing, right? Day dot weekday. This, if I check type of this object. Sorry. It's actually date time object. Wahab, you asked me, right, how you can handle the date in Python,
Yes,
because
yes, sir.
yeah, this is the answer for that. So you can create a date with strings also. You can create that have different methods. So if you pass in number, the year, month, and date, a different format you can give. That is not our scope here. So for this example, take a year and month and date. I am creating a date object. Okay, if I call any, what are the methods available for this object? Day, many object is there. What is the month? If I give month, it's 2, right? So it's giving. If I check a day, then it's 21, right? So this is what I'm checking here. I'm going to pass the date to my method. Okay, so weekday also, let us check. If we check, that is 2, because Monday is 1, 0, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5 is Saturday and 6 is Sunday. So this method is designed like that. When you call weekday, it's going to return you 0 through 6. 0 refers Monday and 6 refers Sunday. Okay. So let me call my static method that is available for employee object, and I'm passing in a date. Let me print that result as well. Since it's work day, that's giving me it's true. If I give 25, it's giving me false. So when you need to use the static method that is not related to any class and instance variable, and you need to do some housekeeping or to process some data, you can, instead of doing outside, you can have that functionality inside of your class. So to create a static method, you should use decorator static. Okay. Let's move on to inheritance. Let me take all this off. Let me have this attend. Okay, I have simple employee class and that have only two methods. Those are instant methods. Okay, I am inheriting the employee and creating some developer and manager. They are also employees, right? Let me define a new class called developer, and I am inheriting this employee, so I'm passing this as base class and just pass. So what are the instant variables and methods available for this employee is also available for this developer. Let's check this. Let me create an instance for this developer. Whatever the arguments is required for this init function, you should pass in, because you inherited, right? If you didn't pass any variable and creating some instance, it's going to give you an error, because in turn it's going to call the init method of the base class and it's going to give you the error. So when you are inheriting complete instance variables and methods. So you need to take care of passing the values of first, last and pay in this example. So let me create I have created an instance with basic necessity of those arguments. Then if I call that instance, see what are the methods that were available or available for these as well. So since it's kept in memory, right, that's why I am seeing the methods that we were defined previously. Let me restart that memory.
Naveen, one question. To clear the memory, other than restart kernel, is there any way we can clear some variables memory or something? The restart kernel is always, is it feasible option to clear the, suppose for example, if I assign something to the variable, if I want to use again that to clear that, and if I want to assign, use that variable, is the only way to restart the kernel?
Yeah, all your variables, functions, everything is stored in globals. Okay, So if you give the globals, all the variables you have defined here will be here. Okay, these are actually a memory. See, all the variables you can see. And if you need to see locals, then you can see. So if you clear this, it will work, I guess. So you can access, for example, these are dictionary, right? If I ask this X, whether it's there, it's not there. So the only way to clear these dictionaries or to restart as far as you are using that Jupyter notebook. If you are using other IDs, then there will not be any problem. Okay, this is related to something we need to do with Jupyter notebook.
Okay.
But maybe some option in Jupyter notebook itself to clear it. I'm not sure about that. I will check and let you know if it's there.
Sure.
So now only two methods available, right? Apply rise and full name. Then the first, last, pay and instance variables. Then class variable %. You can check what are the functionality you inherited with help function. If you pass in this instance, right, it will say what are the methods inherited. See, methods inherited from employee is init method, apply, rise and function. And if you see, this is important thing, method resolution order. If you are calling, if you what to say, if you are defining some variable, if you are looking for some variable, it will first check the developer object first, then the inherited object employee, then any built-in object is there or not. So like that self.person was searching whether any instant variable created. If it's not, it's accessing the class variable, right? Likewise, this is the order it's going to check. If you have the same function in developer and employee, then whatever you are having in developer going to execute first, not the inherited base class function or method. Okay, what I'm saying, you have same methods in employee, for example, some display in employee, and developer has also some method called display. If you create an instance with the developer, if you call display, the developer's display only will execute, the employee display will not execute. So if you don't have the display method in developer and employee method has the display, then that will execute. Okay, so this is the order. That's why it's called a method resolution order. So, and also the dict we have seen, right, the namespace of each instances and what class attribute it inherited. So I didn't have any statements here, but I was able to use all the attributes and methods that was available for employee. Suppose if I have told you, right, I have same full name function here. I'm not taking any argument. I'm just printing something. Okay. This full name method is available for this employee as well. So the same name I gave, and I'm creating an instance. If I call this display method, sorry, what is that? Full name method, it's going to print this only, not that full name. This is actually returning actual full name, right? So when you have the method with the same name, then the child one is going to execute. If it's not there, then it's going for employees method. Okay. Let's have developer have some additional instance variables. Okay. For example, the programming language the developer is comfortable with. If I need to store that value, what you can do, again, what are the variables you have defined there in the base class, you need to pass here. And additionally, program language. Okay, you can just copy all the statements here to to store all the instance of the variables, but it's not the way we should do, right? It's already inherited. You can use that by I have came across. Either I'm using the same constructor here itself through if the interpreter find this statement, it's going to the base class and going to inherit all the instance here. Otherwise, you can give, if you give super, it's going to take the parent class name automatically. So both are same. If you are dealing with some multiple inheritance, that time the super is going to execute and code readability also good. So you can use the super, then all the arguments that is required for that function. Okay, finally the new instance variable I have created, right, that I'm storing here. Okay, so this statement inherits all the instance variables from base class to here. Okay, if you didn't pass any of these arguments which is there in employee, it's going to give you an error. So additionally, you can add some arguments. Okay, so if I create, now I have added programming language, right? I'm passing here and say developer 1, and I'm checking for programming language. Now it's available. So you have inherited all the instance variables and new arguments as well in your code. I'm creating another subclass manager who has the ability to add and remove employees. So I'm taking in the employee as a base class. I'm defining all. Anyway, I need to inherit from base class, right? So I'm using this all. Anyway, employee going to have first name and last name and pay. Those were under control of this manager. Okay, I'm removing the statement. If these employees is not set, if it's none, still I'm not passing. If I'm not passing any variable, then it's defaultly none, right? So, and inside I'm taking into the instance class, and I'm assigning that list of employees here. Sorry, if it's none, empty I'm assigning, otherwise I'm assigning that list itself. Let's have this manager. Either he can able to add employees, right? That also take in self parameter and the employee object. If the employee in the list of employees, if it's that employee is not there, then I'm going to add. So this is basically a list I have defined. So you can append that employee object to here. When I'm executing it, you will understand. Don't get confused. So I'm just creating add employee method that have one list of employees there. If I'm adding one employee, I'm checking list of employees. If it's not there, I am adding it. So when we execute, you will understand. I'm having one more method, remove employee from that list of employees. Again, I need the employee where I need to remove, right? If that employee is there in my list, then only I can remove, right? Then for that, I'm checking in the employees list. See, these are the list that I have assigned here, so we can use that. To remove also, you have the list method removes there, right? Remove, and I'm removing this employee. And to display all the employees, is also going to take employee. For all the employees in employees list, I'm going to print this implies an object that is stored, instance. Don't consider this a separate object that may be string or something. When we go to example, that time you will understand. So let me remove this. Okay, I have full name here, no problem. I have defined my manager class with add, remove, and printing employees. Okay, so let me create instance of this manager that requires first name, last name, and pay, and list of employees. Let me copy this from there. Let's say it will be in 10 digits, I guess. And for now, I'm passing this developer here. I have instance this employee, right? So when I access the attributes of first name, it's going to return me the value. So I am adding this object while creating or empty. Okay, then I'm creating a manager instance 1. If I check methods, what are the methods that are available for this manager function? Is all the methods available for employee and also remove employee, print employee, where that add employee.
There in first.
Right? That means it,
Oh,
even
okay.
all the main blocks coming in.
Okay. So if I need to print all the employees there available for this manager function, it's giving me an error. Why so? Missing one required positional argument. Okay. I'm passing employee here, right? For printing, I don't need this employee. Let me redefine it. So this manager instance have the access to print employees method. So if I need to add different employee, then I can create some different instance with some dev2 instance I'm creating. Let me add that instance that I have created. If I print, I'll get 2 employees there. So you will be very confused with why he is passing another object here when if you want to print that list, right? If I am printing this, let me create. Okay, this is actually an object, right? So if I call, I have some dev1, dev2 objects in my memory, right? So let's say it has same list as that employees. Okay, so I'm looping through for employee in this list, right? This is equivalent to the list here. Self.employees will have list of objects like this. Okay, this is equivalent to this line as well. So when it resolved, it will be these are the 2 elements are right now. Okay, so this employee have that full name method, right? I mean this dev1. If I execute this, it's like executing on top of instance only. That's why I have given dot employee full name. I'm calling method on it. So here I'm not doing any processing. I'm checking in memory and loading those instance to the list. Okay, don't confuse with that. So if I need to add the second employee, I have added and printed, right? Let's try removing some employee. If I execute this, that is removed. Now that dev1 object associated with Naveen, right, that have been removed. The manager currently has only Kishore. You have any questions?
No, Naveen.
No, right. This is actually the instance I have created. So I am passing in that instance. I am checking in the empty list whether it's there or not. If it's not there, I'm adding in add employee. So those are instances I am saving inside these add employees. Okay. So let's move on to multiple inheritance with simple class without that init and so different methods. Let's name it as
Today or tomorrow you're no.
today.
Okay.
Some
How long
simple
time will take
functions
it?
only. Yeah,
Okay.
only 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. I have some programming person here and some statistics or something. If you need to inherit both the classes, you can inherit. That is called multiple inheritance, right? You are creating a person with the programming knowledge and the statistics knowledge. And let me call and I'm taking both the classes. It will inherit both the functions that were available for programming and statistics. If you put help on this professional, you will understand what are the classes or objects it inherited. It inherited two objects inside that professional. Okay, you have some special built-in functions as well to check whether the instance, for example, is subclass. The professional is subclass of, let's take that developer. A subclass of employee, right? So since it's subclass, it's returning me true. If I give some other name, it's going to give me false. This developer is subclass of employee, and manager also subclass of employee, right? That's why it's giving me true. So you can also check instance for this manager class. What are the instance we have created? MG or one we have created, right? So this is the instance of this manager, so that's why it's giving me true. For developer we have created dev1, right? So you can use these built-in function to check whether it's available or not. And some more methods are there to get what are the attributes are there. Say get attribute. If you pass in any instance, and if we check what is their pay for this dev1 employee developer, then it will return you the value for that pay instance variable. If you give 2, I have created the dev2 also, right, with the same salary. That's why if you need to set some attribute, some if you are passing instance here, it's going to set change the values of instance attributes. If you are passing class itself, then it's going to set at the class level attributes. Okay, set attribute, for example, I'm changing salary to some 10 digit. Then if I get that attribute now, value should be changed to that 6,000 to some 60,000. So you can make use of these attributes as well, and also has attribute built-in function is there to check whether this particular instance have that variable or not. Since it's having that pay instance variable, it's giving me true. If I'm giving different variable, I mean that is not declared inside the class, then it's returning me a false. So that's it for the object-oriented programming. Sorry, I took 20 minutes of your time in between
No problem.
If you have any doubt, you can ask me.
Okay. Thanks, Navin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tomorrow we are not going to have any session because some people are going for Lanathon. We'll have session on Friday and last session on Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Navin. Thank you.